Hey guys, welcome to Memory Space. This is Fred Wu speaking. When talk about studying English words, people usually think there's no systematic and reasonable way to do it. You can only feel it. English words are simply unexplainable. In this episode, I'm gonna show you how to study vocabulary like a native English speaker by understanding core fundamentals of English, the science behind English. And in the end of this episode, I'm gonna show you a feasible solution to help you think in English while studying vocabulary. To make our life easier, I should introduce two major components of English words, phonemes and morphemes, since English is a stress-time, morpho-phonemic language. Stress time is related to phonemes or sounds, and morphemes are related to meaning of words. So let's begin with the first part, phonemes and how they are closely related to spelling. The phonemic system I use in this channel is 75 common phonograms and 31 spelling rules proposed by Danny Side, the founder of Logic of English, which logically explains 98% of English words. The system not only tells the pronunciation of phonograms, but also its relationship with spelling. The links of free resources of phonograms and spelling rules are listed in the description down below, and if you already be able to read plain English, I recommend reading Uncovering the Logic of English. It's well written, and the information about the book is also listed in the description. So what's a phonogram? A phonogram is a letter or combination of letters which represents one or more sounds. For example, R-A-R is a phonogram consisting of 3 sounds. Actually 3 red-coded vowel sounds. They are sorted by the frequency of use. So S sound is the most frequent use of R-A-R. A sound takes the second place and R sound is the last one. And they are vowels because they can be sung. Let's use R sound as an example. Yeah, it sounds like that. Hope that makes sense. Consonants, on the contrary, are sounds which cannot be sung. For example, the phonogram ch, k, sh consists of 3 blue-coded consonants. So now we've got a word, for example, map. A. The first sound of R-A-R, P. So we have the word map. The phonemic system uses a numerical index to indicate which sound of the phonogram is pronounced when the phonogram has more than one sound. And all phonograms in this case are written in capital letters because the word has only one syllable. Let's try another example, school. S. The first sound of S, Z. K. The second sound of ch, k, sh. U. The first sound of U, O. O. So we've got the word school. Yep, that's the brief intro of a phonogram, and I'm gonna make a video about how to memorize the 75 phonograms in the next episode. The phonemic system also provides 31 spelling rules to help students not only understand the pronunciation of phonograms, but also its relationship with spelling. It covers basic vowel and consonant rules, sudden final E rules, how to add suffix to any word, and other useful tools including schwa rules, which play an important role in multi-syllable words. In this video, I'm gonna briefly introduce some rules as a sneak peek, and for detailed explanation and review of spelling rules, I'm gonna tell you guys in other videos. It's a deal. So let's take a look at the first spelling rule. C always soften to S when followed by ER or Y. otherwise C says K. For example, we've got the word direct. Die, D, I, the second sound of E, I, E, Y. Rect, the first sound of A, E. K, the first sound of K, S. T, direct. C says K since it's not followed by E, I, or Y. Let's take a look at other words. For example, cat. K, the first sound of K, S. A, the first sound of A, R. T, cat. And C says K since it's followed by A, not E, I, or Y. Succeed, a word having two C's next to each other. Suck. S, the first sound of S, Z. The first sound of U, U. K, the first sound of K, S. Seed, S, the second sound of K, S. E, double E's. D. So we have succeed. The first C says K since it's followed by C, not E, I, or Y. But the second C says S since it's followed by E. Keep in mind that this rule is quite robust. It only has a few exceptions. Yes, I didn't say the phonemic system is perfect. In fact, it works for 98% of English words, and I personally don't recommend memorizing all exceptions since it won't help you become a great reader or speller. If you are curious about those exceptions, please take a look at Uncovering the Logic of English. Alright, to analyze more complicated words, let me take some time to introduce syllables and short rules applied to English words. More precisely, the topic shall be called stress-timed versus syllable-timed. In fact, English belongs to the stress-time category. Let's first introduce what's a syllable-time language. A syllable-time language is a language in which each syllable takes roughly the same amount of time. For example, a Chinese word, 大象, which means an elephant or elephants, has two characters, 大 and 象. Each character is a syllable, and they both take roughly the same amount of time. Whereas a stress-time language is a language in which stressed syllables are said a bit longer and louder than unstressed syllables. English belongs to this category, and unlike Chinese, which is a syllable-time language, we cannot find syllables of an English word by simply looking at it. Instead, we must listen to it and count the number of movements of a raw jaw when pronouncing the word. This is one of the reasons why English phonemic system is harder than the one used in Chinese. The only thing you should keep in mind is that each syllable is always controlled by one vowel in English, and don't forget the definition of a vowel. A vowel is simply a singable sound. So, for example, we've got the word elephants, elephant. The word has 3 syllables since my raw jaw moved 3 times. Now, have you felt something peculiar? Let's say the word again, elephant, and take a look at the phonograms that should cover all those vowels. Yes, hope you find it. The vowels in the second and third syllables somehow change to a sound, which doesn't exist in the given phonograms. And the reason why those vowel sounds somehow change is because they are in the unstressed syllables. And this fact is stated in the first schwa rule. Any vowel may say one of the schwa sounds, a or e, in an unstressed syllable or word. The IPS symbol, like an upside-down E, is called schwa. If you are familiar with IPA, in the IPS system, this symbol only says a sound, but in this channel, I prefer to apply schwa to two weak vowels or lazy vowel sounds, a and e. So when I apply the first schwa rule in practice, I use an exclamation mark after a vowel in an unstressed syllable to indicate that the vowels reduces to one of the schwa sounds a or e, and use a numerical system to pick the proper sound. So in the second syllable of the word elephant, e, the second sound of a e reduces to the first schwa sound, and in the third syllable of the word elephant, a, the first sound of a r, also reduced to the first schwa sound, because they are both in the unstressed syllables. Next, let me explain something about stress. In this channel, I use uppercase letters to indicate that the phonemes are in stressed syllables, and lowercase letters to indicate that the phonemes are in unstressed syllables. In fact, there's no proper way to determine which syllable must be stressed or unstressed. The only thing we can do is to open our ears and listen carefully to the change of vowels within syllables. For those vowels in stressed syllables, they are often said a bit longer and louder, but for those vowels in unstressed syllables, they are often reduced to one of the schwa sounds and are said a bit shorter and relaxed. For example, the word elephant, as what I've mentioned before, has 3 syllables. We may put the stress on the first syllable as shown in case 1 and say elephant, which means an animal with long nose, thick skin, and long tusks. We may put the stress on the second syllable as shown in case 2 and say elephant. The meaning of this word is preserved for later use. We may put the stress on the third syllable as shown in case 3 and said event. The meaning of this word is also preserved. In fact, we can freely place the stress in any syllable, but some may not be defined and are preserved for the later use. Let's take a look at another word, present. The word present has 2 syllables. We may put the stress on the first syllable and say present, which means a gift. And we may also put the stress on the second syllable and say present, which means to show, to give, or to introduce something. In this case, the stress placed on the first and the second syllables creates 2 words with different meanings. So now we've known that the schwa and stress plays an important role in multisyllable words. They not only help us pronounce words accurately, but also help us spell words correctly. For example, let's take a look at the words elephant again. We say the words as elephant. For those students not knowing the existence of schwa rules, they may misspell the words as ELEPHENT or ELAPHENT when they try to recall which letter or phonogram is the correct spelling of the schwa sounds. They usually have the great chance to get it wrong, since any vowel may reduce to one of the schwa sounds in an unstressed syllables. In other words, any phonogram consisting of vowels is a possible candidate. To resolve this problem, we apply a strategy called say-to-spell method. The method itself is quite simple, but pretty powerful. We simply create another auditory file for spelling purpose by placing a stress in every syllable. So for the words elephant, we apply say-to-spell method and set it as elephant for the spelling purpose. So to say the word, we apply the ordinary auditory file elephant, and to spell the word, we apply the exaggerated version elephant. The first syllable is L. The first sound of E, O. The second syllable is E, the second sound of E. The last syllable is faint, the first sound of A-R, T. So we have L-E faint for a spelling purpose. Now let me demonstrate some words by putting all together before we move to the next part. For one-syllable words, they are quite simple. We just need to apply phonograms and spelling rules. For example, light, O, I, three-letter I, T. So we have the word light. The next word is night, I, three-letter I, T. So we have the word night. Next we have the word make, A, the second sound of A-R, K. So we have the word make, and the vowel 6 is long sound because of the silent final E. The next word is lead, O, E, the first sound of E-A-A, D. So we have the word lead. The next one is head, H, E, the second sound of E-A-A, D. So we have the word head. The last word is steak, S, the first sound of S, Z, T, A, the third sound of E-A-A, K. So we have the word steak. Yep, the phonogram E-A-A has 3 common sounds, and E is the most common one. For multi-syllable words, they are a bit complicated. First, we have to find the syllables and the stress by listening to the auditory file of the given word and apply the set-to-spell method, phonograms, and spelling rules. For example, octopus, the word has 3 syllables and the stress is at the first one. The first syllable is oc, ah, the first sound of A-O-U, k, the first sound of ks. The second syllable is t, t, the first schwa sound reduced from O, the second sound of A-O-U. The last syllable is ps, the first sound of A-U-U-W, S, the first sound of S, Z. So we have the word octopus, and we say octopus for spelling purpose. And C says K because it's followed by T, not E-I-O-Y. And the vowel in the second syllable reduced to the first schwa sounds because it's in the unstressed syllable. The next word is accept. The word has 2 syllables and the stress is at the second one. The first syllable is ak, the first schwa sound reduced from a, the first sound of a-a-r, k, the first sound of ks. The second syllable is sept, s, the second sound of ks, a, the first sound of a-e, p, t. So we have the word accept, and we say accept for the spelling purpose. And the first C says k because it's followed by C, not E-I-O-Y. The second C says S because it's followed by E. And the vowel in the first syllable reduced to the first schwa sound because it's in the unstressed syllable. The next word is accelerate. The word has 4 syllables, and the stress is at the second one. The first syllable is ac. A. The first sound of a-r. K. The first sound of k. The second syllable is cell. S. The second sound of k. A. The first sound of a-e. U. The third syllable is a. The first schwa sound reduced from e. The second sound of a-e. The last syllable is rate. A. The second sound of a-a-r. T. So we have the word accelerate, and we say accelerate for a spelling purpose. And the first C says k because it's followed by C, not E-I or Y. The second C says S because it's followed by E. And the vowel in the last syllable says it's a long sound because of the silent final E. And the vowel in the third syllable reduced to the first schwa sounds because it's in the unstressed syllable. The next word is abandon. The word has 3 syllables and the stress is at the second one. The first syllable is a. The first schwa sound reduced from a. The second sound of a-r. The second syllable is ban. B. A. The first sound of a-a-r. The last syllable is dun. D. A. The first schwa sound reduced from a. The first sound of a-o-u. So we have the word abandon, and we say abandon for spelling purpose. And the vowels in the first and the third syllables reduced to the first schwa sound because they're in the unstressed syllables. The next word is reincarnation. The word has 5 syllables and the stress is at the fourth one. The first syllable is re, e. The second sound of a-e. The second syllable is in, e. The first sound of e-i-e-y. The third syllable is car, k. The first sound of k. R, a controlled by r. The fourth syllable is nay, a. The second sound of r-a-r. The last syllable is shun, sh. The one begins at the letter T. The first schwa sound reduced from a. The first sound of a-o-u. So we have the word reincarnation, and we say reincarnation for a spelling purpose. The vowel in the last syllable reduced to the first schwa sound because it's in the unstressed syllable, and C says k because it's followed by a, not e, I, or y. The last word is determination. The word has 5 syllables and the stress is at the fourth one. The first syllable is D, E. The second schwa sound reduced from E. The second sound of a-e. The second syllable is ter, t. E controlled by r. The third syllable is mi, e. The first sound of e-i-e-y. The fourth syllable is nay, A. The second sound of A-A-R. The last syllable is shun. Sh. The one begins at the letter T. The first schwa sound reduced from A, the first sound of A-O-U. So we have the word determination, and we say determination for the spelling purpose. The vowel in the first syllable reduced to the second schwa sound, and the vowel in the last syllable reduced to the first schwa sound because they are both in the unstressed syllables. Alright, hope you already understand the secret of how to pronounce and spell English words correctly. If you have any question about studying English words, please leave in the comments down below or send messages to my mailbox. This is Fred speaking, and see you on the next part of this episode. Bye.